Om Shri Sai Ram, offering our collective salutations at the feet of our beloved Master, Bhagawan Shri Sathya Sai Baba, and our most beloved Sadguru, Shri Madhusudan Sai. Respected elders, brothers and sisters who've gathered from so many different countries around the world, staff, students, everyone gathered here, those watching us live from around the world, Sai Ram, and a very good morning, and welcome to the Global Volunteers Conference. At the very outset, we would like to extend our very, very hearty welcome to Mr. Isaac Tigrid, who's here after 5 years. Welcome, sir. Shri B.N. Narsimurthy, Chancellor, Shri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, and our most beloved Sadguru, Shri Madhusudan Sai, our guiding light, our North Star. We will begin this morning's proceedings with the Sannyasa Suktam, chanted by the boys students who are studying their Bachelors of Arts in Vedic Studies.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Gadana Antva Ganapatigam Havamahe Kavin Kavinamupamashravastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashunvannotibhisse dasadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajinevate Dhinamavitravatu Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswate Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Na karmana na prajaya dhane na tyage naike amritatvama pare nana kannihitam guhayam vibrajade tadyatayo vishanti vedanta vijnana sunishchitartha sannyasa yoga dyataya shuddha sattva aha te brahma loke tu para antakale paramritat parimuchanti sarve Daghram vipapam parame eshma bhutayat pundarikam puramadhya saggastham tatrapi daghram gaganam vishokastasmin yadantastadupasitavyam yo vedadau swarah prokto vedante cha pratisthitaha tasya prakritilenasya yah parasya maheshwaraha Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsata Shri Sayeshwararpanamastu.
Paropakaraya phalanti vrikshaha, Paropakaraya vahanti nadyah, Paropakaraya duhanti gavaha, Paropakarartam idam shariram. This Subhashita means the tree bears fruit for the sake of others, the rivers flow ceaselessly for the sake of others, cows yield milk for the sake of others, and so too, the purpose of this human body is to serve others. Just the other day, Sadhguru was explaining to us the meaning of this word, paropakara. It means para, means higher or divine. Upa is near. Kara is action. So this translates as any undertaking which takes us closer to the divine. As we can all see, the profound message, the timeless message given to us by Bhagawan, which is love all, serve all, right here at this auditorium, we cannot forget what he meant by these two beautiful phrases of love all and serve all. And this is our guiding light every single day, where Bhagawan said, love everybody and serve everybody without any boundaries. And this has been the singular message that he propounded all his life. Sadhguru too has not only been reiterating this, but has also provided us with numerous platforms of the service initiatives, be it nutrition, education, healthcare, or any of the socio-care initiatives that he has initiated globally, where all of these are just ways and means for us to participate and emancipate ourselves. All that is required is a compassionate heart and a willingness to serve, and more importantly, with the awareness and the understanding of our interconnectedness as one large global family. This Volunteers Conference has been organized for all of us to come together and share our skills, our learnings, but most importantly, we are here to deliberate on the biggest event of this millennium, perhaps in the timeline of human history, which is the centenary celebrations of the advent of our master, Bhagawan Shri Sathya Sai Baba, who's the eternal source of all our inspiration. We will now have a short video presentation on the irreplaceable role and the priceless contribution of each and every volunteer around the globe who are participating in our global mission, which is the Sri Madhusudan Sai Global Humanitarian Mission. May we please have the video.
At the Sri Madhusudan Sai Global Humanitarian Mission, we consider the whole world as one family. And just as one loves and serves their family members, we endeavor to serve all those in need. And this wouldn't be possible without all of you, the volunteers. You are the backbone of the mission. Whether it's feeding the unfed, educating the uneducated, or healing the unhealthy, none of our service initiatives would be possible without the support of our global family. Every act, big or small, creates a ripple of positive change that can be felt around the world.
You might see me as in the front of it, but a war is not won by the king. War is won by the army. And this is the army.
So, whoever you are and wherever you are in the world, you can make a difference.
We don't need the whole world to change the whole world. We just need a few good people who are committed, who are selfless and fearless, who can be agents of transformation. And through their life, they will tell the rest of the world how they can become better too.
This morning, Swami has blessed two speakers to address all of us. They are our international global volunteers. Our very first speaker is Miss Jessica Chen. She currently works as a relationship executive in the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Having been introduced to Sadhguru in 2019, she's taken to this mission like fish is to water, and is now actively involved in the mission in Australia, serving as a board member in the Heart of Love Foundation. She's also the Sydney coordinator for the various service initiatives, including the Feeding the Homeless project. Miss Jessica Chen.
My humble pranams at the lotus feet of my dear Sadhguru. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to come and speak with everyone today. Greetings to respected elders, dear brothers and sisters. I'm here to share with you today some of the service work that's being done in Australia and a little bit about my personal journey and some of the challenges that I have faced. In Australia, the Swami's mission is done through two arms, the Health in Kind and Heart of Love Foundation. Health in Kind is the health arm of Swamis of the foundation, and it provides much needed support to refugees, Indigenous and disadvantaged families through free health education, medical and allied health screenings, dental treatment and regular health checkups across 4 states. The team have also been working closely with the Centenary Fiji Hospital and provide ongoing support in terms of nurses training, providing medical supplies and equipment. The socio-care and educare is done through Heart of Love Foundation. On average, over 900 meals are delivered per week across 4 states in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland and Western Australia. This includes school breakfast programs, hamper services and cooked meals to much needed families across different cultural backgrounds. The team also actively engage with the local community. One such event is Mawulumba Together, which is a post-flood healing support for one of the worst floods hit in recent history in Australia. By creating an environment where the community can share and connect through their experiences. Heart of Love Foundation will also be the centre of Swami's next phase in the Values Education program. Some of the challenges faced by the Australian team in Australia is really about identifying where the need is. In a welfare country like Australia, where the government provides a lot of the education, basic needs such as healthcare and socio-care, the need is not obvious. So as an example, in 2016, when the Australian team offered free health checkups, at first, no one showed up. Then the team really has to reevaluate their approach. For Australia, the challenge is not so much about it's quite different. It's about knowing and finding where the need is, because the need is not obvious. And through persistent efforts and discovery, the team came across a refugee community who did not qualify for the government support and have slipped through the cracks and is in need of urgent assistance in health and socio-care. My personal journey started with regular weekly satsangs, going over Swami's Kathapanishad episodes during COVID, that really started to cement my understanding and connection with Swami's mission. For me, it is not only the service work itself, but the reason why I'm doing it. After the first trip to Fiji Hospital in 2022, full of hope and motivated with the great work being done there, I came back to Australia and started doing SEVA, weekly homeless feeding, organising and taking part in the service activities jointly with the Australian team. But of course, as with everything in life, we encounter challenges, and likewise with the service work. For example, when we were organising events for Swami's mission, it can be very stressful because we're operating within tight deadlines, having logistics to plan, people to manage, as you can all relate to. There is a lot of moving parts. In Swami's most recent trip to Australia last month, it also coincided with some personal changes that I have made in my life. I resigned from my job, I sold my property, and I was in the middle of moving houses. As you can imagine and relate to, the pressure was very intense. There was so much work. There are some moments where I feel so overwhelmed that I race around like a mad chook. But something in me never saw giving up as an option. I say the words I want to give up, But in my heart, I knew that I would not. Because doing the service work and being obedient to God's will was my duty. I always remember what Krishna said to Arjuna when he was distressed and having to go into battle with people who are his family, and his knees were shaking. Krishna said to him, "Hey, wake up. You're born to be a warrior, and it is your duty to fight." It's a constant reminder for me to remain fearless. My tool to deal with the challenges is karma yoga. Do your best and leave the rest. That's an ongoing mantra that I have in my head. A reminder to myself that I'm not the doer. When a difficult situation arises, I immediately ask myself, have I done everything in my power to help the situation? And if the answer is yes, then I leave the rest to God. Whether good or bad, I accept the outcome and believe that it is for the best. And I also have the awareness to see this difficult situation as a platform, my own battlefield, to implement Swami's teachings and to practice them and to help me learn and grow. Then there are little miracles along the way. They're filled with pure joy, and it tells me that I'm on the right path and to keep going. For example, our homeless feeding. It is not only the physical action of distributing food to those in need, but the connection formed with the people there. Because I see myself in them, and I know they crave the warmth and a caring presence. And it is this connection that fulfills my heart. I remember there was this one time at homeless feeding, and there was a man that I have not known and did not notice. And one day he came up to me very cheekily and he said to me, "Hey Jessie, you're on time today. Normally you're always late." I realized then that you never know what that presence can help others. And it's a little ray of sunshine in their lives. And those glimpses and miracles along the way are affirmation that I'm on the right path and encouragement to keep going. It is the same love and connection I feel when Swami said recently in the Australia Sathya Sai, "The moment you choose God, God chooses you." Life's ups and downs, uncertainties and challenges, they don't go away. Swami's teachings have afforded me with the tools to handle them better. And those challenges are exactly what makes me grow, become more resilient, and allow myself to know myself on a deeper level. And for that, I will be eternally grateful. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Guru Purnima celebrations.
Our next speaker is Dr. Victory Craxey. He was born into a family of ardent devotees of Bhagawan Baba. In fact, he was born at Bhagawan's hospital in Whitefield, and he studied in Prashantinilayam all the way from grade 1 to grade 12. He went on to complete his degree program in Ayurveda, and he continues to be actively involved in the service activities in Italy and also serves as the youth coordinator for the European region. Dr. Victory Craxey.
Om Shri Sai Ram. My humble pranams at the lotus feet of beloved Sadguru. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, Sai Ram and good morning to all of you. We are extremely fortunate to be living in a reality that when we observe it, that when we become part of it, automatically we ask ourselves, why not do seva? We are surrounded by seva in action, seva that is manifested by everyone and everything we see over here in Sathya Sai Grama. It is my experience out there in the world that when I talk about seva, through the expression on people's faces, I see the opposite. I see the question in their eyes, why do seva? And through my contemplations, through my reasoning, I began observing, especially through my work, how even along the path of spirituality, or at least what modern man calls spirituality, there are pitfalls. There are pitfalls which are very difficult to see, but very easily we can fall into them. Pitfalls that end up with us having our mind narrate to us versions of ourselves that are not true in the real sense in this world. They're not true because they don't relate, or we don't express that through our actions. They remain only on the thought level. I have come across this a lot, and this has been for me a trigger point to ask myself, to what degree am I doing this within myself? How many times have I fallen short? How many times have I used excuses to not push myself to the limit and be of help to somebody else? How many times has complacency set in? I think these questions are of paramount importance for each and every one of us. It is safe to say, brothers and sisters, that out there we live in a world of distractions. And I remember Swami once, in answer to a question, when someone asked Swami, what book should I read? What books do you recommend on the spiritual path? And Swami said, one book is enough. One book is enough for your entire lifetime, as long as you put into action what is there in that book. But what I have come across many times is we tend to look for books upon books upon books and materials and, again, distractions. I would go to that extent of calling them also distractions, because that is an example of how complacency sets in. Abroad, listening to Swami's teachings of late, especially last year, through the Bhagavad Gita Paravidya session 1 year ago, I began noticing how, since my work is in relation with, yes, Ayurveda, but also with the world of yoga, I have come across how people are misusing even spiritual teachings. People are misusing yoga, for example. The whole aspect of karma yoga is missing. Patients come to me and they speak about, they tell me, I have tried to meditate, but with no results. I have tried to meditate, but I just can't. And then, thinking about this, it became clear to me that, Swami also had said last year, that sometimes the mind is so much in a noisy state that we can't expect to go straight and directly to what we may call sadhana. But the two aspects have to go hand in hand, has been my experience. As Swami has always said, so sadhana with seva and vice versa. A couple of days ago, I came across this beautiful phrase that Swami many years ago had said. He said, a devotee asks, a disciple follows. I think it's for each and every one of us to ask ourselves, to what degree are we devotees, which by in itself is a great blessing, don't get me wrong. But in this context, what do I mean? In this context, obviously, being the disciple should be the driving factor. The disciple follows. And what more can we ask for? Ask for when we have in our presence the shining example of Sadguru, who is showing us the way, who is showing us exactly what we must emulate. It's easy for me to stand here and share my thoughts. It's difficult to take them out and convert them into action. And so I would like to pray to Sadguru to please give me the strength, the courage to make sure that I don't fall into those pits that I may not see while I'm traveling, and I travel a lot, actually in the car, but I mean spiritually. To be able to see them beforehand and not fall into them. This world today needs seva. And we are an integral part of the world, and so we need seva for ourselves. It is a win-win situation on both ends, on the outside as well as on the inside. But where does that become a narrative that we tell ourselves? Oh, I have done enough today. I don't think that thought should ever come to us. If I think I have done enough today, I haven't done enough, is what I think. In Italy, through the Casa del Divino Foundation, there are many activities going on which are spearheaded by the ashram in Assisi, which is the spiritual center, as Swami has said many times, of the country. In Rome, we have the Grace Kitchen, which feeds the poor. And then we have also sessions on the Advaita Vedanta, on Master of the Mind series, on Katha Upanishad series. And in the ashram in Assisi this year, the construction for the new satsang hall has begun. It has had its fair share of challenges, as also my brothers and sisters from Grace Kitchen will confirm. As I was talking about pitfalls, while we are doing seva also, there have been many, but we have held on strong. Our love for Swami has kept us centered. This year, as of this year, the construction of the new satsang hall in Assisi has started. Swami had christened the hall to be the St. Francis Hall. And as promised, as Swami had announced in March, it should be ready by next year, within 1 year's time from the start of the construction. For the upcoming new hospital, Greece and Italy together are collaborating in the construction of a marble statue of Sathya Sai Baba, which will be centered in the main lobby of the upcoming hospital. It will be made in Italian marble, and Swami has commissioned it. It will be ready well in time for the inauguration. 6.2 meters tall statue of Sai Baba, white marble. And with these words and gratitude for having given me the chance to share with all of you, thank you and Sai Ram.
Talking about Assisi and the beautiful experience every time we have. The last time we were there, one of the devotees asked a very beautiful question to Swami. He asked, how do we know that the seva that we are doing or engaging in is a good seva? So how do we know? How can we tell? And then so beautifully he answered and he said, when you finish the seva, the only feeling that you should have in your heart is that thank you God for this opportunity. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to have been a small instrument to serve the needy. So that was a very profound statement that he said, because all of us are engaging in seva every day. We're all volunteers in this global sort of stage where so many activities, service initiatives are going on. And without the volunteers and without each and every single person, those who are here, those who couldn't make it today, those who are coming tomorrow and over the next few days, that one singular aspect of how we feel at the end of the day, that it is an offering to the divine. We are not doing it for ourselves, but we are doing it collectively for the benefit of those in need, is the feeling we should have. And I remember in Assisi, Swami talking to Sister Giovanna. She left for the heavenly abode a couple of years ago during COVID. She was an octogenarian. And Swami told her, and this stays with us in our memory, he said, come to India. And she said, I don't go, I follow. I don't travel, I go on a pilgrimage. And all her life, This is what she did as a service to Christ and as a service to St. Francis. And today we're all seated here to remember those beautiful things, the various things that Swami keeps telling us about the Seva Bhava, and how is that over the period of the next year, year and a half, we're all going to come together collectively with all our skills, our talents, and how are we going to pool it to make this event, which is once in a millennium, once in our lifetimes, that we have been contemporaries of an avatar. And what is it that each one of us can do in our capacity, with all our skill, might, energy, and time, to make it worthwhile? And we have a short presentation we've created to this. Can we have the presentation, please? So this presentation is on the various service opportunities and the areas of scope which will cater to the varied interests. So at the end of the day, we are all one world, one family volunteers. And when we look at this from every single perspective, what is it that each one of us are going to do and need to think from today? What are we going to think? How are we going to be part of this glorious 100th birthday of Bhagawan? When Sadhguru was talking to a few of us about this 100th birthday, he said, not everybody gets a chance to celebrate an event like this. They say it's once in a century. In fact, it is once in a millennium. It's once in a yuga. In the whole lifetime of human history, that something like this happens. So we definitely need to make the world know about our origins and how we all, as an inspired group of people, are walking the talk. So in honor of Bhagawan's 100th birthday celebrations, we will be having 100-day celebrations next year. Between 16th of August to 23rd of November 2025, each of the 100 countries where Seva activities are currently being initiated or have been initiated will present the ongoing activities in their countries every day. So each day, one country will be allocated and the team will be here from that particular country. They will present the Seva activities that are going on in their country. There will be a talk, a short video presentation, and then thereafter there will be a short cultural program from that country where the message of one world, one family is also evidently and abundantly present in their culture too. So this is going to be something which will happen every single day for 100 days starting August 16th. And following this vision of Sadhguru, next year we will see representatives from 100 countries coming together to share their inspiration, their enthusiasm to serve, as this will provide a platform for all to share their experiences and learnings, so that at the end of the day, we will all remind ourselves over and over and over again that we are all one connected whole. However, all of this requires a lot of work, a lot of planning, a lot of execution, and we require the support of each and every individual. Some of the opportunities to get involved might begin today, such as the event management, the content writing. Some might begin later this year, like accommodation planning. Some will begin during the 100 days of next year, like medical assistance, then Seva in the canteen, etc. As Sadhguru beautifully put it, he said, naturally, an event like the 100th year must go with the right kind of preparation. He said, the right kind of execution. And whoever comes must go back with this great feeling and satisfaction that they have visited this place. They have learned about Bhagawan and his teachings, and they are now willing to engage and participate in all our service activities. Whatever may be your area of interest, There are many, many, many opportunities to serve, such as video production, design, social media, and much more as you see on this slide. And as the areas of opportunities grow, there will be something for each and everyone to participate in. So for each of the items in the previous slide, we have prepared information about the essential skills that are required, the qualification, and the sort of commitment that is required from the volunteers. So on the screen, we've just given one example. This is for the public and the guest relations category. And as you see, there are some essential skills such as conversation, writing, listening, and others. And of course, there are certain qualifications which are required, such as English language skills, and of course, a willingness to commit. All of this information and opportunities has been presented in Sadhguru's website, which will be launched, where actually a web page is being launched today. And we are sure that hearing about all of this information at once, you could certainly have some of these questions. These questions could be popping up in your mind. My busy schedule, I don't have the knowledge about the opportunities that are there, or maybe I'm not good enough to volunteer, maybe I can't afford the cost. Concerns of safety, how am I going to travel? Will I be able to afford my ticket? What's going to happen to my job? So many, many, many concerns in all our minds. And of course, the commitment is for a long time. It's the 100th birthday, so what does it mean? Is there a possibility we can all be together here for 100 days? So that's the end statement. But what do we do next, therefore? So today, we can begin by exploring the opportunities. We can understand the level of commitment we as individuals can provide. We can understand what is required. And of course, we can register our interest to serve on this web page, which is on Sadhguru's website. So between now and next July, we can upskill ourselves, we can attend trainings, we can establish a relationship with our team members, we can initiate plans to take leave from work when we go back. Then between July and August next year, we can start thinking about finalizing the visa, the applications. We can ensure the flight tickets are done and they're purchased early. We can confirm our accommodation arrangements. And of course, finally, between August and November next year, we will all put our master's teachings and practice and express our love for him through selfless service. So let us take this opportunity to selflessly serve one another, to show the world how the avatar taught his followers to walk the talk and offer each and every day of service as a flower at his divine lotus feet. Now, we would like to call upon brothers Dinesh and Vishal to present the web page to Sadhguru for the launch. Please do make sure to visit the web page today and read about it, look at all the opportunities, and if each one of us can decide for ourselves, what is it that I am going to do for my master? How is it that I am going to serve selflessly? How is it that I am going to show the world that I am his disciple, I am his follower? On that note, we'd like to invite our dear Mr. Isaac Tigrit to share a few words. He's an inspiration to all of us every time he speaks, and he has been an inspiration since so many years, so many decades of his service at the feet of his master, Bhagawan Shri Sathya Sai Baba. We all know him as the founder of the Hard Rock Cafe and the House of Blues. But more than anything, he was one dedicated disciple of his master, Mr. Isaac Tigert.
Well, what a hard act to follow of all people, Bhuvana, who is probably one of the greatest servants I have ever met in my life. And of course, I have to follow her, which is almost impossible for anyone to. Thank you, Ms. Bhuvana. So I understood this morning that this was a conference of those who had volunteered for helping the great celebration next year. How many are actually volunteering for next year in the hall today? How many volunteers? That's it? All the women and very few of the men? What's the story? Bhuvana mentioned something very, very important. It reminded me of a really unique moment I had with Sathya Sai Baba. We were traveling all over the world, and we were in England, and we were traveling to different people's houses. We were going to this particular house where a vibhuti formed everywhere, and there was a big altar there, and people were coming from everywhere, and this person was very famous, and so forth and so on. And as we're approaching this little cottage, this little house, just outside of London, Swami said, Tiger, you talk about service. He used to always tell me at the last minute, and of course, at this very moment, he's telling me what to say, thank goodness. And as we opened the door of the house, there was a full picture of Sathya Sai Baba, full-length picture. And behind the glass, in vibhuti, was written S-E-R-V-I-C-E, service. So I got up to speak, and this was in the days before many dramas had begun, and there was all the Sai organizations from that area had gathered this day at this lady's house, I guess a couple of hundred. And it was the way the house was, is a big room, and the big doors open to another room, which opened to another room, which opened to a big garden. And there are, I don't know, 250, maybe 300 people there. And I said, how many of you are doing service for this organization? All these hands went up. And I said, I have always admired, being a Christian and a Baptist, that in our Christian faith, at our place at home in Tennessee, there would always be the same 20% or 30% of the people who would volunteer to feed the poor, go see the elderly, go to the hospital, do whatever service was necessary. But it was never required of everyone to do service. It always was the same 20% that felt it in their hearts and did the work. And the thing that was so impressive to me from the very beginning about the Sai organization is that everyone was required to do service. So I asked, how many of you are doing service? And of course, every hand went up. I said, oh, that's fantastic, it's amazing. Now, how many of you are doing selfless service? And they started looking at each other and not quite sure what I was talking about. I said, I think a lot of people, you do this because everybody else is doing it. And that's the reason you do it. The crowd's going that way, you want to be part of the crowd, so you volunteer. I said, that's not selfless service. That's not selfless service at all. I said, some of you are doing this because it makes you feel good. Oh, I've done something great. That's not selfless service. That's selfish service. I said, some of you are doing this because you think that it'll help you in the organization or politically, and you are worried about what other people think. And I want them to think that I'm a servant and I'm going to raise my hand. I said, that's not selfless service. So I said to them, now I want to ask you again, how many of you are doing selfless service? Everyone started looking around, no hands went up. Because they were all doing it for those reasons that I had just mentioned. Selfless service is, as Sathya Sai Baba and our wonderful guru have said, service to man is service to God. Service to man is service to God. You have a great opportunity, and I was so blessed. This is my 50th year under the guidance and umbrella of Sathya Sai Baba and now Madhusudan Sai, and I'm so honored to be back again. And will certainly be here if my poor body will allow me next year, for sure. But let me tell you, even at 75, I keep learning and learning and learning because I'm frail. I mean, my brain is frail. And I'm old, and I keep forgetting the lessons that I've been taught. Yesterday, when I arrived, 2 beautiful young men were given to look after me because I'm so old and decrepit, they think that I need to hold somebody's hand to walk, which is almost true. These 2 wonderful boys, ready to do anything for me. I was their man. They were going to take care of me. And I said, yes. I said, I want to get some chocolates. There's a particular lady who I adore who works in the main office. Her name is Krishna. She's the most amazing woman I think I've ever met. She talked about selfless service. And I wanted to get her some candy because I always bring her something. So let's go get some nice Lindt chocolate. He said, well, we can't find that in Chikbalapur. We'll have to go to the airport. So I said, fine, let's go to the airport. So away we go, the 3 of us with this wonderful driver, Mahesh, another servant who's sitting right outside this door. And these guys messed up the entire trip to this place. I mean, they got lost at the airport. There's a new airport there, and they kept going round and round in circles, and we're confused, and we're getting, you know, I was getting agitated as hell. And I literally, they wanted me to get out and walk 300 or 400 yards, which I couldn't do. They thought they found the right door. I said, you guys are so stupid. This is child's work. What's wrong with you? The signs are right there. It tells you where to go. It tells you what to do. Damn you. And they got out of the car. They wanted me to walk with them. I refused very arrogantly. I'll stay in the car. You go. And while they were gone, Sai Baba came to me and reminded me of something that happened many, many years before. We traveled for, 5 years around the world. There were 3 of us, Mr. Murti, Sri Murti, who I adore and love, and Srinivas and myself and the Satguru. It was an incredible time, but it was a difficult time. We traveled every other day to a new country and so forth. It was tiring. We did that for 5 years. And I'll never forget that I lost my sense of reality. One of the greatest men I've ever met, and the sweetest, the most erudite man, Sri Murti, said something that I didn't like. And I jumped on him, and I said, I said something like that, you know, what are you going to do? I was really angry at him. Got in the car, and I drove home. And just as I got home, 5 minutes later, I get a car pulls up and said, oh, there's a letter here from Sathya Sai Baba to you. It was the first letter he'd ever written me. I was like aghast. So I opened the letter, and he calls me Tiger because he knows that I'm somewhat dangerous, even at this age. And he said, Tiger, always speak in a sweet, nectarine voice to every single person you meet, because you must remember this. When you're speaking to them, you're speaking to me. You're speaking to me. So, in a year from now, servants, you call yourself volunteers, you'll all be judged that day, by yourselves probably, more than anyone else, to serve an amazing master who I was blessed to be. Somehow he accepted me with all my frailties and faults and difficulties and whatever. And it's his 100th birthday. His 100th birthday. This is so meaningful. It's the most important birthday of this avatar's advent. And you have been asked to volunteer, to help with all these people who will come from around the world. And you must remember you are representing a divine being. And not only that, you're serving divine beings. And you must watch every word that you say and how you say it and what's in your heart. And a lot of them are going to be upset. Oh, where's my room? Where's this out of my car? Where did I lost my luggage? So this didn't happen. And you'll be tempted very much to bark back or say, sir, I'm doing my best or whatever. You just must remember that you're serving Him, you're serving God, and He's right in front of you. It's so important that when you say the word volunteer, and those that don't think that they can do selfless service, they should unvolunteer themselves right away. You shouldn't be doing it because everybody else is joining in doing it. You shouldn't be doing it because it makes you feel good. You certainly shouldn't be doing it because you care about what other people think. The reason that you volunteer a year in advance to give you plenty of time to decide really how you're going to be honored by doing the right thing. And all of you can. It's so easy to lose your place. It's so easy to forget the teachings. It's so easy to forget even a silly man like me getting up and reminding you. Just as I have done just yesterday, I forgot. And I jumped on these two beautiful young men who were just trying to help, were confused and didn't know what to do, and I lost my temper a little bit. But thank God, my guru came to me, as he has and blessed me so many times, and he just said, remember the letter? Do you remember the letter? And I did. Thank God I remembered the letter. And when these gentlemen got back in the car, I told them the story of receiving this letter and how I had jumped on one of the most beautiful, loving men that I've ever met, who I had the honor to travel with around the world and have learned so much from, that I had lost my temper with. And the letter that came that said, whatever you do, always speak in a nectarine, pure, sweet voice. You must remember, Tiger, that when you're talking to them, you're talking to me. Saram.
Thank you, sir. Now may we please invite our revered Chancellor, Shri B.N. Narasimurthy, to please address all of us this morning.
Dearest Swami, dear brothers and sisters from around the globe, very dear students, boys and girls, I am simply thrilled to listen to the voice of my very dear brother, Mr. Tigrit, resounding again in this divine hall after 5 long years. Brother, you might have aged a little, but your voice and inspiration has not aged. I also would like to compliment Jessica and Victor, who spoke from their hearts. When Victor said that we are living in a world of destruction, I remembered a quote from Dr. Stephen Rupanthal, a contemporary American thinker. Very profound statement, absolutely true. And each and every one of us will have to contemplate on it and believe in it for our mission to succeed. He said, India stands for hope in a world filled with despair and violence. The spiritually fertile soil of India will bring forth a leader who will guide world back into love, back into peace, back into harmony, back into mutual caring and sharing. And that is how we are going to save this planet. This is what he said. No doubt the world is full of despair and violence. But promptly, the great mother of the world, the mother of India, the Mother India, brought forth a great leader, spiritual leader in Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, almost 100 years ago. And now she has brought forth another leader worthy of the master in our master, Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai. If they fail in their mission, there is no hope for the world. I am convinced about it. And I am not a young boy. I have lived for 80 years on this planet. When I say this, I fully believe in it. If they fail in their mission, there is no future for mankind. There is no future for the world. Is the mission as good as the master? Definitely no. You may be surprised, but that is the truth. The mission is not as good as the master. If the mission is as good as the master, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, it will surely succeed. There is no question about it. If the mission is as good as Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, it will definitely succeed, no doubt about it. But mission is not as good as the master. Mission is as good as the missionaries. If a master does not inspire missionaries, the mission will definitely fail. Therefore, the mission does not depend on Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. If it was so, by this time the mission should have succeeded. He was all powerful. What stopped him? The mission is only as good as you and me, and not the master. So that is what we need to understand. In this context of the Global Volunteer Meet, I felt I should congratulate myself that I chose to be a God's volunteer when I was 18 and continue to be a God's volunteer when I am 80. What is a God's volunteer? God's volunteer is the missionary. God's volunteer is a Tyaga Jivi. When I say a Tyaga Jivi, the phrase that was coined by my mentor, Anna, revered Anna Madhyal Narayan Bhatt. So God's volunteer is a missionary. God's volunteer is a Tyaga Jivi, a man or woman of sacrifice. What do you sacrifice? Is it money? Is it position? Is it the pleasures? No. Sacrificing your weakness is the greatest sacrifice. And Lord Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Kshudram hrudayadaurbhalyam tektvotishta parantapa. O Arjuna, get up, stand up, giving up your weakness of the heart. Hrudayadaurbhalyam. Therefore, what is the greatest weakness of human beings? The greatest weakness of human beings to think that I am a human being, when we are not actually not. When I am divine, to think and feel that I am a human being is the greatest weakness of man. That's where the first sin of man started. The first sin of man did not start with the even Adam. It started much before that. It started when man started forgetting his divinity, identified himself with the frail human body and with a more frail mind. See, that is the weakness we have to drop. That is the weakness we have to conquer. As I said, the word Tyagajivi was coined by Madhyal Narayan Bhatt, whom many of you would not have seen. Very, very few of you would have seen, but you would have seen his very charming photograph. Most of you would have seen. He coined this word. And the first step I took, inspired by him. In fact, it was he who took me to Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba when I was 18, 19 years old. But for him, I would never have gone to meet Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Being born in Chikbalapur here, 100 kilometers from Puttaparthi, I would never have visited Puttaparthi but for him, because I was such a headstrong, haughty young man who passed judgment on Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba without knowing anything, without seeing him. And he was the one who drove some sense into my senseless head and took me to Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And when I chose to be a missionary, when I chose to be a Tyagajivi, when I chose to be a God's volunteer, my capital were 7 words that Baba spoke to me for the first time. Way back in 1965, when he blessed me with his first words, he spoke to me many words, but out of them 7 words became the capital of my life. That was the investment that he made, which is yielding boundless results even today. Those 7 words were, "You do my work, I will do your work." You do my work, I will do your work, he said. Many questions that Bhuvana very wonderfully brought up on the screen that occur to volunteers. What will happen to me if I start doing selfless service? What will happen to my family? What is my future? Can I sustain myself? These are the questions. I tell you, these 7 words dissolved all those questions in my heart once for all, once I heard those words. And I decided, Swami, I am going to do that. I will do your work. At that point of time, I thought his work and my work were different. That's what I thought. I thought, being a boy, brought up by lower middle class parents in very difficult conditions, in a huge family of 11 boys and girls. And I thought my work at that point of time was to take care of my family, especially parents, father, mother, and my brother and sisters. That's what I believed in. Till then, I was listening to my parents. Whatever they said, I did. But then I changed. I did what Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba said. And my heart is filled with so much of gratitude to Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba and also to Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, that he helped me to keep my promise that I made at the age of 18 years. I made, Swami, I will work for you. And as far as I think, all my life I have worked for Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. And now through Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, the same master, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. In fact, to tell you the truth, in my experience, both of them are one inside. Outside they look different. Both of them are one and the same. In fact, all masters are one and the same internally. All of them identify with one God, one Nirguna Para Brahman. But outside, they look different because their roles are different as decreed by the Lord of the universe, who has created this most beautiful universe and running it. It is the decree of the Jagadishwara, the Lord of the world, that a master should lead this kind of life. If Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba led that kind of life, it was because that was decreed for him. And today, if Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai leading this kind of life, it is decreed for him. Therefore, I took the first decision with Baba's command. First thing he told me is, because he knew what was in my mind, he said, you serve your family. After my completion of engineering degree, he said, you do a job, earn money and give it to parents. Very promptly I did that. But then it came, within 2 years, there was a different command. That command was from inside, because I was living far away from Baba. When I say far away, not like you, many of my brothers and sisters from corners of the world. I was only 400 kilometers away in Manipal. And the command was from inside, and I decided that I would give up my career as an engineer and become a volunteer in Baba's organization, that is Narayan Bhatt's organization, that is Lok Seva Vrinda in Alike. See, that was one decision, because I really definitely don't want to take much of your time. But here, I should say that, like every one of you, I have also passed through what they call the dark night of the soul. Any spiritual aspirant, he or she will have to pass through it. We see many bright full moon days also in our journey, and dark nights also. In those dark nights, what gives me strength and inspiration is 3 very good things I did in my life. One is to give up the job. First thing I did was to give up the job without worrying about what is going to happen to me or family, and joined Madhyal Narayan Bhatt in his place in Alike. That was the first thing. And second thing was, when Baba visited this place on 7th of August 1983, when he visited this place, he said, Narasimhamurthy, will you come to Puttaparthi? At that point of time, I was thinking, Mudinalli was my child. How can I leave my child and go? It was so young and frail. That's what I was wondering. But he gave me the good sense, because he said, you do my work, I will do your work. Again resounded in my heart. And definitely look after my family. All my brothers and sisters were looked after by him. And here I want to say that one promise that I made to Father, Baba fulfilled it in a most wonderful way. He said, towards the end of his life, he called me and said, see, out of the 7 sons I had, I trust you. See, our house in Chikbalapur is 100-year-old. It can collapse any time. I entrust you with the job of building a new house in this place. The way Baba fulfilled it is something, which I can't describe. And you go today, in the same place stands a 3-storied house, which Baba helped me to build. And let me confess, I never earned any money in my life. I never got any salary, but for those 2 years when I was working as an assistant professor in my engineering college at Manipal. But he fulfilled it. And now when I was thinking, when Baba is calling me to Puttaparthi, should I go? I just decided in 4 minutes, I decided I am going. Because he said, Baba has told me that you do my work, I will do your work. I thought at that point of time, my work had graduated from my family to Mudinalli institution. If I do your work, definitely you will look after Mudinalli. I trusted, and I went with Baba to Puttaparthi. For 27 years I was away. For 5-6 years at Puttaparthi, and then 21 years at Whitefield. And finally, on 18th of May 2011. I need not have to remind you, 18th of May 2011, just about 25 days after our master, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, shed his mortal coil. As per his command, I came back to Mudenahalli. I was a broken soul with a broken heart and, more importantly, a broken dream. My dream, which Narayan Bhatt, my mentor, kindled in me, triggered in me, was to build a missionary organization to serve Baba's mission. A missionary organization of men and women who are totally dedicated to Atmano Mokshartham Jagadhitaya Cha. That is the service of mankind and my own redemption, my self-realization, my God-realization. That dream was broken, I tell you, because when I came back, only one person could have made it true. It was Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and he was gone. Therefore, I came back to this place with a broken heart and looked around, and I thought that there is no way that the mission that my mentor Narayan Bhatt envisioned would come true. Looked around and looked at my Tyagajivi friends, some of them who are sitting here, and we had committed a mistake. None of us could have made this dream true of building a missionary organization, because we had committed a mistake because Narayan Bhatt always stressed that only service is not enough for your redemption. You have to do sadhana also, you have to do spiritual practice also, you have to do. But most of us ignored spiritual practice. Young people, we plunged into service, forgot about sadhana, and none of us was able to really even continue with that dream of building a missionary organization. There was no balance in our lives. That is when Sadhguru entered, 10th of July 2011, when he entered, and it did not take more than 5 minutes for me to surrender to him. Who was my student in Whitefield. It did not take more than 5 minutes. And I stay surrendered. Even today, I stay surrendered. When I say this, I mean it because many times I was chastised by Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba personally, in public, in front of students. I never lifted up my head and spoke a word back. Same thing with Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai also. Same thing, because I know he is the master. And when Baba had said, you do my work, I will do your work, my work when I returned here in 2011 was to build the missionary organization. So I accepted, as Brother Tigrit said, I tell you, spun like tops all over the world for more than 6-7 years. I never thought of going out of India. I didn't have a passport at 65. When Sadhguru told me, you go to Singapore, I asked Swami, are you coming? No, you go to Singapore. I made my passport from that day onwards, and he has fulfilled, Baba has fulfilled that promise also of building a missionary organization through Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai, through Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence. He has fulfilled it. Therefore, finally, okay, after being a God's volunteer all your life, what have you got? My answer to them is not an answer, but a question. What is that I have not got? I have got everything. In this world and the other world, the material and the spiritual, I have got everything because we have a master like Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai with us. We don't need anything more than that. So when he says, or on his word, Bhuvana says, commit yourself to service as volunteers. Look at me, a very successful spiritual aspirant, very successful. I'm very, very successful. Nothing to long for, nothing to gain. But one prayer at the feet of Sadguru is, Swami, keep me at your feet as a God's volunteer till my last breath. Thank you very much. Sairam to you.
On behalf of all of us, we pray to Sadhguru to bless us with his divine benedictory message this auspicious day.
So many beautiful words have been spoken from the heart this morning that you need a bigger heart to keep it all safely. Both of them on my sides, they are personifications of selfless service that we are all here to discuss and talk about. Tigrit, as a young man, was in search of God. Born in America, working in London, and probably rubbing shoulders with who is who of the world. He wasn't satisfied. He was still looking for that fulfillment which comes only by knowing God. And he packed his bags and roamed the streets of India and so many other places. Finally found his way to Puttaparthi, or Whitefield to begin with, and then to Puttaparthi. And all that he did all his life, he placed it at the feet of his master for the construction of the very first free of charge multi-specialty hospital in a small village in Puttaparthi. He staked it all for that sake. That is the level of surrender. And till today, whenever I meet him, my heart fills with so much of joy. Not just because of his antics, but more importantly because of his selflessness. Selflessness in his thoughts, his actions, and all that he has done all his life and keeps doing. So I'm so happy to welcome you back in Sathya Sai Grama after 5 years, as Narsimurthy said. On the other side, our Narsimurthy, the Sathya Sai Grama was his baby, as he said. He started it as a young boy of 18, 19 years with nothing in hand except one command from his mentor, Narayan Bhatt, to build the campus, who himself was following the command of Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba to build the campus. Imagine at that point of time if Narayan Bhatt had not volunteered and then Narsimurthy had not volunteered. Today there would not have been any Sathya Sai Grama, there wouldn't be you and I sitting here talking about it. It is their sacrifice and commitment which has built this institution, of which we are all a part, and today we can sit and talk to each other about these great ideas of service, selfless service, and volunteerism. So it makes me very happy when I see people of such eminence, spiritual as well as material both, who for the sake of God are willing to let go of everything. That makes me so happy, because these are the kind of people who can change the world. No one else. Not the richest, not the powerful, not the mightiest, not the popular. These kind of people who are ready to let go of everything for the sake of God, they alone can change the world and nobody else. And under this roof, I have so many of you who are like this. That makes me feel so happy and confident about this possibility that yes, the world can be changed for the better with all of us together at work as God's volunteers, as Narsimurthy put it. So I'm sure this time is coming. It's not far away with all of us together. And coming to the 100th birthday celebrations, everybody wants to celebrate an important event in their life. Be it their birthday, be it their families, any relatives' birthday, mothers, fathers, children's, their marriage anniversary, or any other achievement they have. But of all the achievements in our lives, the greatest achievement we have had is to know Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Everything else is pale in front of this one great blessing that we all got to know about Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, which was not given to billions of others. And then it was not just there. We got to see him, we got to be with him, and we got to work for him. And we received all the blessings and love, unconditional, pure, divine love. That blessing is even beyond, because even after out of those millions who knew him, only few thousands got to receive this blessing of proximity, of compassion, of his grace, of his direct benevolence. Then amongst those few thousands or few 100,000 who even got to know him, a few millions, there were only a few thousands who finally believed that he is not gone. He is still there and doing his work silently, quietly, secretly, but nevertheless powerfully. And that's resulted in this mission that we are all a part of. That's a third blessing. And of all those people who got to know that Baba is there and we can continue to serve him and feel him and experience him, there were few, hundreds who committed to this mission with all their might. For them nothing else mattered. That one divine command is all that mattered, for which sake they were ready to stake everything that they ever had. And you are those. Therefore you have to congratulate yourself that how blessed you are to be here, to be a part of this mission and to continue to be a part of this mission. And this is a wonderful blessing that cannot be compared with anything else in the world. And those who know it, they know it. When we were thinking of 100th birthday celebrations, my heart was bursting with ideas. How to announce this to the world? How to make it an event where the whole world sits up and finally recognizes the work of Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. I think it's long due. Should have been done much better, much before, much bigger, but unfortunately, or as the divine design was, it wasn't so. But everybody should know that a personality like him existed, and still today, his continued guidance and blessings are there upon so many of us who continue to march on, doing what he has asked us to do, which is to love all and serve all. And this is the only solution to the problems of the world. How else we should let it be known to the world? How to convey this? How to make it totally visible to everybody who has still not seen it or understood it? That was the idea that was going on, and that's why we conceptualized that let us have 100 days celebrations towards 100th birthday. And starting August all the way till November, every day would be a festival here, where we all will celebrate this idea of love and service. Every country will come with their cultural and spiritual presentations, which also talks about how they are also the same in some way. Their language may be different, the way they talk or present may be different, but this idea that there is only oneness, there is only interconnectedness. When we see all the diversity and all the distractions, there is only one. Every ancient culture has taught this. I'm thoroughly convinced after traveling to so many countries. Recently I was in Australia, or as they say Australia, where I met the indigenous people. And they also talk about the same spiritual virtues, values that Vedas talk about, Upanishads talk about, maybe in another language. But the same idea, the same interconnected, the same gratitude, the same divinity they talk about. So I'm thoroughly convinced that every country from the world has something to offer to further this idea, to strengthen this idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That we are one world and one family, and we are not separate. We are all connected to each other. So everybody's welfare is important for us to also be happy. And this is the idea of the program that will be there. And I'm really looking forward to it. Last time I stayed 3 months in one place was during COVID, which also was once in a century event. And I hope the next time I can stay in one place for 3 months would be the 100th birthday celebrations. So I can stay and be here. As Victory was telling, that we wanted to also install a statue. Of course, statues are not the ways to celebrate, but for the common people, a lot of new people come. They don't know much about Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, or for that matter, what he taught or what he did. A lot of patients who come here also, they are just coming because there is free service and they need it. So there is a museum coming up within the new big hospital which is coming up. There is this statue right at the center, where you enter the portico and then you enter the big hall. It's a grand hall I don't know, 11-story tall that dome is. So once you come in, you look up, I think you'll have to really crane your neck to see the top, because it's so high. And right under that, at the center, as the spiritual core of the institution, is the statue. And then there is a museum on the life and teachings, so that people can walk around. There's an audiovisual experience in different languages. So all of them will get to hear the story in the language of their choice, including foreign languages. So they can press the button, that language will play, and they can go through the entire museum and exhibition. That's all on the ground floor. So you can see that and come back, and by the time you finish, you can sit down quietly to meditate on those teachings and to find your purpose of what you want to do in your life after being inspired by these teachings. So this is the idea of building that institution, and I'm very, very much looking forward to that. So all this is under not just concept, it's getting executed. As I say, something is getting built, the building is getting built over here, and I'm so happy that all this will happen and coincide with the 100th birthday celebrations. And all through the 100 days, I want to be here, I want to teach things, I want to discuss, I want to deliberate. Maybe there will be, and there is a program schedule being made too, that what will we do all those 100 days. And definitely I'll spend 2 to 3 hours every day teaching something, some scripture, some Upanishad. We can sit and talk about it, like the good old COVID days. For those who were in the ashram, they know what it was like. And of course, there will be meditation sessions, there will be yoga, there will be service activities, volunteering, and receiving a lot of guests from around the world. Every day there will be one special guest, a spiritual person, or somebody who has done great work for the society as a guest, who would come and speak and share their experience of how they have done that work. So this is going to be a very inspirational time. And I think it's worth keeping all our other things aside for these 100 days to celebrate it here. And now, after COVID, the blessing is work from home, hybrid world culture is there. So those who are still working and young, you must find ways to work in such a way that you can stay here and still you can work. And book your tickets early, because the whole world is going to come to India during November. So you will not find tickets. Or we will find it very expensive. So I have given a long, long notice. And I'm exempting you from attending all the functions from this Guru Purnima till next Guru Purnima. Save all the money that you have to spend that money during those travels in the next year. I will travel to your country before you come here. So you don't have to travel to India and spend that money, especially the young volunteers. I'm not talking about those who have enough, but those who are still working, they're young parents, they have kids, they have offices to attend. Please save all that money so that you can use it for coming during next year, the 100-day celebrations, so that you can be here without the worry of how will we survive. And bring friends also, bring family also. We will find some way to accommodate everybody, everyone who comes here. Everybody inside the ashram. I told nobody should stay outside the ashram. So that's our team which has to work, do what it takes to get everybody inside the ashram. So all this is going to happen. I know it's going to be one of the most beautiful times in our lives, and I'm so looking forward to it. So this morning when volunteer meet was kept, I was thinking about what should be the message of what is volunteerism after all, what should be the message. And as I was getting ready, a leaf floated through the window. Look at how God teaches you, you see. You have many gurus, and Bhagavatam, Dattatreya is supposed to have 24 gurus. He learns from everybody, including a prostitute, how you should eagerly wait for God to bless you. So anything and everything. And here is that leaf that floats and suddenly gently touches me. And then it occurs to me that when I was very, very young, I had read this story, The Last Leaf by O. Henry. I'm sure some of you, I wanted to show that leaf, that I clicked the picture, which came this morning floating from the window. And it so gently touched me, as if Bhagawan touched me, that this is the message I want to give. And then remember, why this leaf of all the things? And I remembered the story of The Last Leaf of O. Henry. For those who might have read English literature, this is quite a popular story. It's a setting in the Greenwich Village, somewhere near New York, where there is an artist's village, artist street, where all artists, painters, they live there because it's very cheap accommodation, and artists are perennially poor. So they want cheap accommodation. So there are two young girl artists who are staying on the 3rd floor of a building, and they are practicing their art and try to become an artist and popular. Suddenly there is this outbreak of pneumonia, and everybody kinds of falls sick. And amongst these two girls, the Sue and I think is John C. John C is the one who gets the pneumonia, and then she's very sick. And she keeps looking out of her window and sees that there is a tree which was growing by the wall opposite to the window, some kind of a ivy tree or something, from where the leaves were falling because of cold and the wind. And she somehow thinks that when the last leaf falls from that tree, she will also be gone. Somehow this thought gets into her head. The other roommate, Sue, tries to convince her that it's not so, don't imagine. But somehow she is not able to get out of this thought. At that point in time, there is this old man. He is also trying to be an artist for the last 40, 50 years, but he's a drunkard. He is not consistent. But he keeps telling people, one day I'm going to paint a masterpiece and I'll be known. But that day never had come till then. However, when he gets to know about this girl's sickness, and that she has somehow developed this thought that when the last leaf falls, she will die, all night in the cold and rain, he paints a leaf on the wall. And when this girl wakes up next morning thinking that she is going to die because that last leaf would fall by the night, the leaf does not fall, and does not fall for the next day and the next day, till they get to know that this old man had died of pneumonia the previous night, because he stood in the cold and the rain to paint that leaf to save this girl. I thought that was volunteerism. That is what is the message from God. Can we go that far? He was not duty bound to paint that leaf. He was not duty bound. But he still did, because he thought that this would save this little young artist girl who would otherwise somehow succumb to pneumonia and die, because she had that thought. So are we willing to go that far to save the world, save the people, save humanity, save the creation, is the question that every volunteer has to ask. Not that everybody will get such extreme opportunities to do, but whatever, in our own way. When I was in Raipur, this was in 2012, there were initial days of this mission, and you can imagine there was so much of confusion everywhere, including inside my head. I had plenty of instructions, very difficult to execute, and I was wondering. And one day when I was sitting, and Bhagawan was sitting on this chair in the altar room, and I was sitting down, and then he told me one sentence. He told, I asked him, you came as an avatar, you lived here, you did so many things, yet the world has not changed. There is still poverty and crime and violence and greed and name it. Every other problem that you can think of is there in the world, despite an avatar having come and gone. So almost I questioned his credentials as to what exactly he achieved at the end. And I was very free. You shouldn't be free like that with me. But so I told him, what have you achieved as an avatar? Look at the world, it's still the same mess. And he told, imagine if I also would not have come. What would have happened to you? And immediately struck me like a thunderbolt. Yes, imagine if he had also not come and we were all on our own. What would have been our fate and our plight? Where we would have been? Then it occurred to me that what a great blessing it was, what a great act of love it was to take this human form and be there with us to guide us and teach us. And then he told me, I can change the world. If I get one person, like the Rishi Dadiji he mentioned. There is a story in Indian scriptures about Dadiji. He was a Rishi who had some powers, and once these demons attacked the devas, the gods, and gods were falling short of in their strength to fight them back. So they asked for the solution, and that time Brahma guides them to this Dadiji. The Dadiji is a Rishi in penance, and he tells Indra, the king of gods, the leader of gods, go ask Dadiji to make a weapon out of his backbone and offer it to you, Vajra. That is the weapon Indra carries, a thunderbolt-like thing. And if Dadiji gives you that, you can win the war. And can you believe when they go and ask Dadiji, it's like I'm asking you, can you kill yourself to save me? And Dadiji says, of course. And by his yogic Shakti power, he burns himself down so that only the backbone is left. And with that backbone, Indra takes and fights the war and wins against the demons and saves the creation, they say. So Swami told me, I just need one Dadichi to change the world. And the bigger question after that was, would you be that Dadichi for me? And I was not sure how to answer. But I only said, whichever way you think you can use me to do your well, I am here offering myself to you, whichever way you want. If that means I have to burn myself down to give up the backbone to somebody for the sake of fighting the war against the evil, I'm ready for that too. And he was immensely pleased. Not that he's going to do that or not going to do that. That was beside the point. The point was, were you willing? Were you available? Were you agreeable? That was the question that he was checking on. And some months down the line, when I was sitting with him, I asked him. He played us little trick, you know the story, and many have read that Bhagavatam story. So I was reading some part of Bhagavatam. That was a part of my self-study, which was a rule. Every day he would ask, what is that you read today? Which book, which chapter, which shloka? What? So that self-study or swadhyaya was a rule, as a sadhana. So I was reading something from Bhagavatam, and more to teach the children in Gulbarga, some stories from Bhagavatam. And then he asked, Bhagavatam ante, what is Bhagavatam? Then I said, Swami, you say Bhagavatam chadivite Bhagavatamu. Means in Telugu it means, if you study Bhagavatam, you will become a good person, you will become a better person. He said, no, what is Bhagavatamu, like that. I did not know, I didn't remember those old discourses. Mostly, as students, you see, we have slept through many of such discourses in Prashanti. And so I could not remember. Then he said, see, Bha ante bhakti. Bha means bhakti. Ga means jnanam. Ga means jnana means knowledge. Va means vairagyam. Va, bhagava. Tha ante, he got stuck. He could not remember what was tha. And then he skipped that tha and said, mu ante mukti. So bhagavata mu. But I went back and said, no, you skipped that tha. You were testing whether I remember your discourse. You yourself don't remember one of that. So so I asked him, tell me what is tha. He said, I'm Marchipan. He said, I have forgotten. I said, how can he forget? Now here he is a so-called avatar who's left his body and still comes back to me and teaches me so many wonderful things, takes me on some expeditions of other worlds, makes me see gods and goddesses, shows me the future, takes me to the past, and then he says he has forgotten what is tha in Bhagavatamu. I said, no, you are just doing drama, you know it, you tell me. I have forgotten, leave that, we'll go. He wanted to continue the conversation, but I kept on going back and saying, no, tell me what is tha. And then he was avoiding that conversation. Then I told Swami, you are so many things. You are the God, you are supreme, you are avatar, all that we know. And now I know for very sure that, you are not less than the supreme-most being, because you come like this and you do all these things. And I am seeing practically in front of my eyes all these happening. So tell me really, who you are. On one side you are God, other side you forget things, who you are. And then he just bent over from his chair, and I was sitting down and looked straight deep into my eyes and said, if you want to know me, become me. That's all. I was again very stunned, because that was a very powerful statement. If you want to know me, become me. He was not willing to say I am Godhead or I am Brahman personified. He didn't say anything. He just said, if you want to know me, become me. And then I looked back and said, how to become you? And then he asked, who am I? And I was quiet. He said, I am pure love. That is what I am. So you become pure love, you become me, you get to know who I am. And I asked, please bless that I become that pure love that you are. Because we are all capable of that. Aren't we made in the same image of God? The raw material used is same in all of us. It got contaminated on the way, it's a different matter, but we can again purify it. He said, pure love. And I prayed that a day should come when I should be up to the mark, to his satisfaction, that pure love that he talks about. I really prayed that he blesses me with that. And he blessed. And then slowly he told, Ta ante tattvamu. He knew that what ta was, but he simply created a conversation to bring me to this point where I ask who you are, and he should say, if you want to know me, you have to become me, and he is none other than pure love, and therefore if you become pure love, you become me, you get to know who I am. And my journey in 12 years has been this journey of becoming that. And when you become, as he says, being is lost in becoming. So we become that, we are no more the previous selves. So this opportunity to serve the Master is the opportunity to become our true selves by unbecoming all that we are not. And that process is the process of sadhana and seva. And I am direct beneficiary, I have benefited from this. Not that anybody or everybody can do it so easily. It's not given to all. There has to be blessing, there has to be purva janma prarabdha, there has to be many other things. All should come together. But what I see is that to do it now and here is much easier than to have done it in Krita Yuga or Treta Yuga or some other time or place. Because the opportunities, the availability of this guidance is so much readily available now, which wasn't the case. Some rishis meditated at the end of, I don't know, eons of meditation. Finally, one Vishnu or Brahma or some Ishvara will appear and give some boon or convey something. It wasn't given like that. We have been handed over on a platter, all the guidance and wisdom and courage and motivation. So I just ask, how many of us will be that Dadiji? How many of us will be willing to paint that last leaf? How many of us are going to be ready to let go of everything to become God, to become pure love? They alone can be the true volunteers of this mission. As in Germany, as somebody asked, how can I help you? He said, if you want to help me, become me. Because only another me can help me. Otherwise, you will mess up whatever I am doing. If you are any less capable than me, naturally you will do a shorter job, you will do a lesser job. So become me is the way to become the volunteer. Become me is the watchword. If you become me, you are the perfect volunteer, perfect devotee, perfect disciple. Why even disciple? Perfect masters. And that is the opportunity that is awaiting us. What can we give on 100th birthday? Okay, we'll make a big noise about all that we have learnt and all that we have enjoyed and make presentations and videos and spread the word and let the whole world know all that we can do. But really, what would be the real gift? What does a master want? Does he want all the propaganda, information, awareness, or several initiatives or service activities, more buildings, more institutions? What does a master want? I understand that now, being one. The heart of the master. He just wants to create another him in you. Nothing more, nothing less. Anything short of it is not good enough a gift. So how many of us are willing to push ourselves, as Victory said, push our boundaries out of our comfort zones to reach there, what the master wants us to be? And anything short of being the master himself would be a disservice, would be a shortchanging ourselves and the master of the opportunity. So we have to go that far. I'm just setting the goals. We have to go that far when we are another Bhagawan. Till then our journey doesn't end. But of course it goes through many ways and routes, and one of them is service and sadhana, as it has to be together. You do it in Malaysia, you do it in Sri Lanka, you do it in America, Fiji or Australia or Italy, fine, anywhere. But once in the century, let's come together to do it here. And do it here in a way that togetherness, this satsanga will transform us. And I at least with whatever experience I have, I can guarantee you, if you have really sincerely participated in those 100 days, at the end of 100th day, you will not be the same. You cannot be the same. And you should not be the same also. Because you have stayed in satsanga with so many like-minded people, all the time thinking of God and good things, and receiving other people also into this fraternity, into this family from around the world. How can you be the same person after 100 days? So it won't be possible. So 100 days is what we are going to give ourselves as gift on his birthday, and so that we can be worthy gifts for him to enjoy. How will we do that? As I said, God alone knows right now. But we will figure it out. They say where there is will, there is way. Now I already know there is a way, so we have to only have the will. Way is 100 days, be here, spend the time in only thinking of God and good things. And that time and that investment that we make, it will be transformational. At the end of it all, we will not be the same people. We will definitely be closer images of our master. If not fully become master, I'm sure many of you will attain that too, but at least we'll get that close that we almost are our masters. That will happen. That is the best gift we can give. One day, one devotee was arguing with, Swami. He was arguing with Bhagawan. What was he arguing? Saying, how many Jivan Muktas have you produced? He was asking. I haven't seen many like that, he said. How many Jivan Muktas you have produced? How many Jnanis you have produced? He asked like that. And, it's there is a human side of it, the Jiva Prajna. He's perplexed with this question. He didn't expect such a question coming his way. How many? He didn't keep account of it, that how many he produced over how many decades. He just looked around, he was stunned. And then he looked at the person and said, I'm waiting for one in you. I'm waiting for one in you to become a Jivan Mukta. He kind of paid him in the same coin. And now the onus is on us to become the list of Jivan Muktas that he can carry around. Because he's still waiting for his list. And that is the best offering we can give. There's nothing that makes a master happy. I've seen that. If the disciples follow in his footsteps and become his another version, another replica, another clone, that is the best thing a master can ever achieve or receive. Nothing makes master happier than this. So I only want to tell you what I have experienced, and I can only tell you that I am just a few steps ahead of you on the same journey. You might be a few steps behind. But the journey is same. The challenges will be there. Trials and tribulations will be there. The dark night of soul will be there. And I have also gone through it. And now there is a book coming out, the third part of the Story Divine, Living in God. And also a combined book called the autobiography, The Story Divine, is also coming now. And you can read over there. And there is a very scary episode of a dark night of the soul. In that, I'm sure Narasimhamurti would have lost sleep on reading that. It could have happened. So you must read, because you will realize that the journey is same. The same tests are put, the same challenges will be thrown, same obstacles of the mind, till you decide that I am ready to give up everything. That is when the journey really accelerates. Till then you will drag yourself along. And that time Guru is not going to come and tell, come to the other side, I'm waiting. No, he's just going to keep quiet and wait and watch what you do with yourself. He's not going to intervene, do a miracle, push you or motivate you or guide you. He'll just simply hide himself and quietly watch as to what are you going to do now during that dark night of the soul, when you want to give up and let go and just run away and do nothing. That is the day he will sit and watch, and he will not appear. And that is the day you would expect him the most, and he would not come. If he's a real Guru. If he's not a real Guru, he'll come and say, let's continue the journey. The real Guru will just disappear and wait and watch what you do with his teachings. Do you have the courage in you? Do you have that boldness? Do you have that commitment? He will watch. And if you have, your journey will accelerate from there. So this is a journey all of us are on as co-pilgrims, as co-travelers, co-passengers. Let us come together. I'm really looking forward to making that 100 days count in our lives forever, and in the lives of so many newcomers and so many people who are yet to know, yet to receive this blessing of this wisdom, and yet to feel the touch of the Master, which will transform them too. And that's the greatest service we can do. Let's put our heads, hearts and hands together, and I'm sure something amazing will come out of it, which will, the effect of it will last for centuries, maybe forever. So let us think like that, and I have put all these teams in place. They're very nice people, as long as you are nice to them, and they can help you with registrations and volunteering and thing, and everybody is welcome. There's no age group. I didn't say it's a youth volunteers or something. Everybody is welcome, whether you are a devotee or not devotee. Like I heard just now Jessica speak. She just came in 2019, just heard the Kathopanishad things, and it transformed her into such a wonderful volunteer. And she spoke from her heart. We can understand that she has experienced the joy of service and also the challenges and difficulties. So that would be the journey of every one of us. All the educational work of theirs should get over largely before August, and then it can continue only after November. I do not want too many classes during August and November, maybe a few ones, but largely they have to squeeze their holidays and do whatever they need to do to give me those 3 clean months with everybody. And everybody has to look after everybody because there is nobody else. You are the volunteer, you are the guest, you are everything. So you have to all look after each other. But I am really looking forward to that time next year. And I am sure that will benefit all of us and the world at large. And so many minds coming together and focusing on God and the energy and the vibrations it will generate, like a Mahayajna. And that will spread to the whole universe. And that may be the shift of gears for the coming age, the good times. So let me again congratulate you for the special of the specialist, most special blessing that you have received, of still being in touch with the divine, of still being in this path, of still continuing journey despite several dark nights, and still committing to this idea of Godhood and not giving up. This is the wonderful blessing that we have received. When we walk together, we can walk long distance. When we walk alone, we can walk only a few steps. So let's walk together. As I wrote recently to somebody who asked, I said, its life is a journey, it's a pilgrim, it's best undertaken together. So, walk together, talk together, work together, love together, serve together, reach together, and merge together. That is how our way should be. Lot of blessings to everybody.
We've already received a few questions when the registration forms went out a few days ago, and we asked everyone, are there any specific questions that you would like to ask Sadhguru regarding being a volunteer, becoming a volunteer? And here are a few questions. Lately, we as humanity seem to lack the understanding and practice of help ever, hurt never in our inner and worldly lives. Please, Sadhguru, can you enlighten us on the timeless meaning of the maxim Paropakaraya Punyaya Papaya Parapidanam by the great sage Vyasa, both the surface level meaning and its inner significance?
The surface level meaning is quite clear. We are born to do good to others. That is the purpose. There is no other purpose for human birth. The day you don't do good to others and you are harm to others, that should be the last day of your life. That is how one should think. So every day wake up and ask yourself whether you are doing your existence, your being alive is doing any good to anybody. If it is yes, then be happy to be alive. If not, then there is no point in being around. So that is the idea of paropakara, to help others. Para upakara, as she explained. And if you are not being of help to others, that is the greatest sin, because that's not the reason why you were born in the first place. So you're not living your purpose. So why are you even living? That is the question being asked. Being evil is not going in hurting somebody, but by not being of help, which is what you were supposed to be, you're already hurting the people. You are a doctor, you could have gone and helped a patient who was about to die. By just not doing anything about it, you will say, I haven't hurt the patient, but actually you have hurt because you could have helped, you did not. So you ended up hurting the patient in some way because the patient died because of you not being willing to help. So that is the idea of help ever, hurt never. Hurt never is not the question of you resist yourself or control yourself from going and hitting somebody or hurting somebody. By not helping, you are actually hurting. That is how we should think. Every day we don't help somebody, we are hurting somebody in some way. When we see so many poor and people in difficulties, and even though it is in our capacity and might to do something about it, but we just don't do anything about it. I'm not saying you're snatching away their food or taking away what they have and hurting them. No, by just not being willing to do anything about it is hurting them. So not helping itself is equal to hurting. So the other people are very clever. They'll say it means not hurting is equal to helping. No, it doesn't work like that. Not hurting is, many people take refuge in this quote and say, I'm not hurting anybody, so anyway I'm helping somewhere. I'm not a criminal, I'm not a goon, I'm not a thief, I'm not a militant, so I'm anyway helping by being just normal, ordinary. No, that's not the reason you are born. You're born to do good, you're born to help only. And if you don't help every day, you are hurting somebody in some way, because you not being actively helping is causing some issue, some problem, some damage to somebody somewhere, directly or indirectly. That is the deeper idea. And God has created us in His image, and God's only way is to help. God loves and helps, serves. And if we don't do that, we are not being God. So deeply, spiritually, we are not going to evolve at all. Because we are not. How do you become somebody, as Bhagawan just said, right? You just do what I do. I always say these children, when they ask me, how do we become like you? I said, think as I think. feel as I feel, speak as I speak, do as I do, you will become me. So when we are not doing exactly what God does, then how are we going to become gods? So that is the idea. Helping others selflessly is the only way to become our true divine selves at the deeper level. At a surface level, even as a society, when we are not helping somebody, indirectly we are hurting somebody somewhere. And that also we should avoid. If it is in our capacity, let us help.
Swami, what should be our mindset as a volunteer?
I just now said, have I done any good to anybody today? Have I gone beyond the call of duty to do that? Have I pushed my limits and boundaries and comfort zones to be of help to somebody? And above all, as Tigrit said, have I done it selflessly, without any conditions, without any expectations? That is the idea of a volunteer. He is always ever ready to help, like God is ever ready to help. That's how volunteers should be.
What is the significance of working in a team in the context of spirituality, as sometimes it's difficult to work together and unite members in the team? So how does one handle those kind of situations?
Tell me about it. I deal with 40, 50 countries with different cultures, different work ethics, different backgrounds, different age groups, and different mindsets. So you can only imagine putting all these people together and getting them to do something together is not an easy task. But when can we work together is when we can dissolve our individualities, our egos, our petty humanness into the greater idea of collective good. When I know that I alone cannot do this good, I have to work with you or bear with you or tolerate you, because the outcome is going to be for the collective welfare of all. With that idea we work. Sometimes I get very upset, as Narasimhamurthy was indirectly mentioning that I also chide him and chastise him like earlier times. But whenever I do that, I tell them, see, I am not working just to satisfy you or just to make you a better person. For me, I am looking far, far ahead in time or in space, where there is a child somewhere hungry today, that girl will be abducted and sold. This night she will be done. For her sake I work. For that boy who is going to be a thief tomorrow because he did not get his food today, for his sake I work. For that father who is going to die today because of lack of medical care, he couldn't afford it, whole family is going to be orphaned and on the road tomorrow, for their sake I work. So I am ready to tolerate you because I have to do something greater. So despite your idiosyncrasies, I go on, I plow on, because the goal is much, much greater than our individual issues. And when we look at that bigger picture, then we forget these small differences. Then we learn to accept each other and move on. But if we can do it nicely, happily, and in a spiritual way, it also helps you evolve as a team member. You can still just be nice to each other, but inside your heart you may still have bitterness. Work will still get done, the beneficiary will still get benefited, but have you benefited? No. You have lost out on your own evolution. So Seva will save you, I say. S-E-V-A, Seva, and S-A-V-E is save. So Seva not just saves the person, the hungry and the poor and the sick, it actually saves you from this bhavabandha, from this stickiness of the samsara, the worldliness. And what is the glue? Super glue? Our ego, which holds us back and which sticks us to this worldliness. To get rid of that, we have to dissolve our egos and individualities. The first thing is look at the greater good that will come out of working in teams, so that you are able to let go of some of your individual ego and whatever your personality issues. Second, when you do that, you are also going to grow spiritually, because all individuality must disappear in the spirituality, like rivers disappear into the ocean. So you have to let go of your individuality. I'm not saying you have to let go of your skills and talents, and that selfishness, that ego part has to go away. That alone will help you to work together in teams and work happily. It's not enough if that patient becomes happy and goes home. It's also important that the doctor and the nurse and the paramedic and all the staff are also happy in the hospital doing it. So for your happiness, dissolve your ego. And of course, it will also lead to the happiness of others.
What message do you have for devotees who earnestly desire to participate in the voluntary service activities as a volunteer, but are unable to do so due to their advanced age or physical or other limitations?
As I said, age-wise you do sadhana and service. When you are 30-year-old, 30% you do sadhana, 70% of your time you spend on service. Similarly, when you're 50 years old, 50% time in sadhana, that is prayers and meditations and reading your books and things like that, and 50% time on service. Now, when you're 80 years old, naturally body cannot afford to work. At that point in time, you should do 20% of work, whatever little you can do. You can do translations, you can do corrections, editing, anything that you know of. Or simply cook something and somebody else will go and distribute it. Or weave, or whatever skills you have used, put it to use. But 80% time you can still spend meditating, reading scriptures, discussing good things, attending study circles. This will help you to still contribute to the world, the betterment of the world in some way.
How can an overseas health professional with a passion to volunteer offer their services?
As I said, if they are coming here, then there is a way to register yourselves according to your licenses and your qualifications. Our hospital can help you. You can tell them what dates you want to come, how long you want to stay, what is your specialization, and what kind of medical licenses you hold. Then we have to apply for a special permission for you to officially serve over here. Unofficially, of course, you can always volunteer in whichever way you can, but officially you need to register. But there is a process you can find out from our volunteering team.
What common challenges do the current volunteers face in the mission, whether India or abroad? What are the key learnings we should imbibe?
I think the biggest challenge they're facing is to be able to work in groups. Team building and teamwork and collaborations and letting go of your egos or personalities is the biggest issue that at least I have observed. Because even as we sit today under one roof, I know there are groups and groups of people who won't work with the other groups for whatever has happened or happening. But I somehow feel that, okay, in the beginning I allow them, okay, you be a separate group and work, at least some good is happening through you. Somehow you'll evolve through this seva, and then one day you'll reach a stage where you're able to work with all the groups. So I still allow that seva to happen, but I would rather tell that every time we are unable to work with somebody, of course the other person can also be very difficult. It's not that you are bad though, so you are not working with them. But we have to find ways to work with each other happily, as I again said, happily, not just because we've been forced to work. That requires no ego at all. That requires absolute zero ego and humility. And you will read a lot of it in my book, because there, first I had to swallow a lot of my individuality and personality to allow the divine to flow. Otherwise you become an obstruction in the divine flow. So that is what is happening in most of the places. That is why I'm pushing and pushing that you have to grow spiritually. If you don't grow spiritually and you are anything less than me, you are not good enough for the mission. You have to push yourself and get all those blocks out of your way. And that means you have to really work on your spiritual evolution, your sadhana. And just now Victory had written to me in the morning, what should I speak? And I told him it's easy to run away to a forest and disengage from everybody, become a recluse, and you'll suddenly feel you're spiritually evolved because you never got angry. There's nobody to get angry with. You never got irritated because there is nobody to irritate you. There is no issue of ego because there is nobody to throw your ego on. You suddenly feel very peaceful and evolved and elevated because there is nobody around you. That's an easy spirituality, but it's not real. It's fake. The real spirituality is stay in the world, work with people, face challenges, overcome them, and then finally become divine. Then you are real, that spirituality will last. Otherwise, these ones, these escape spiritualities, these don't last. You go for a 10-day workshop, meditation, you feel suddenly you become divine, come back, 11th day you're back to where you started. These methods don't work. So you have to engage in the world, yet in a detached way. You're willing to work with people, yet without any ego and very personality issues. Then you are really growing spiritually, because this is striking at the very root of your individuality, which you have brought from several births, several lifetimes. It's very sticky. But when you work with other people who also have individualities and personalities, that's when you get to know that you have an issue still left. If nobody is around to fight with, then you will always be a peaceful person. That is not the real peace. In between all this battlefield, you should have peace. So this is the issue I see in people, and I want them to grow spiritually. That is the only solution to overcome these petty humanness and liberate yourselves into the divine expanse. Only if you work on your spiritual growth. So just service is not going to be sufficient. That is the first step. The second leg, your 2 feet are there, right? You can't keep hopping with one leg. When you take one step, you have to take the other step with the other leg. So the other leg is spiritual sadhana. Lot of scriptural reading, satsangs, contemplation. That's one part of it. But both should happen together. Those who do only spiritual activities and sadhana, don't do any service, again they'll be hopping on one leg. So both the legs are required, both the feet are required. I need this combination in all the people. That's when you will really be helpful.
Swami, will I be provided with basic necessities if I choose to come and volunteer for the whole year or beyond?
As I said, if there is an opportunity and there is a need for your volunteering work, then you are not, whatever your resources are not sufficient or whatever, please let the volunteering team know. We will try to make some provisions for that. But as I said, that is provided your skills and your efforts are needed. No, then we will definitely do that. Just because you are not finding a job somewhere and nobody wants to work with you somewhere, you come here to ashram and settle down, that's not the way. I always discourage that. If really you are a part of a voluntary group where you have those skills or you are willing to acquire those skills to help, then definitely there is a place and we will find a way to organize that. So you all have to think about what I said, the individuality and the ego part of it. See, that is the biggest obstacle in all the work. One day I was telling somebody who came here and they were so full of adoration for all the great work that has been done. And it's sometimes unbelievable. You see, in 10, 12 years, you set up 10, 12 hospitals, a university, 30, 40 institutions, and then so many abroad hospitals and centers, and a huge medical college. They're saying, how is it all possible? How did you do it? I told, I could have done better if I had better people with me. It means even those little petty blocks and egos which were there, they were the obstructions which helped us to do only so much this far. If those were also gone, I would have saved so much of time and energy personally. And so many of these works would have gone off so much more smoothly, which would have had a lot of hiccups and issues because of individuals only. Nothing else. So if that also was looked after, I'm sure we could have done more good to more people in this world. But even this far we have come, compared to a worldly standard, definitely we look very good. But that is because our baseline is very, very low. We are comparing with selfish people. So we look very good. Compare with real selfless people, we will be below them. Because we are not perfected that selflessness in us. So it could have been much more, but as I said, because of the lack of whatever spiritual evolution within all of us, somewhere we were an obstacle to our own journeys. And that also should go out of the way. And Rabindranath Tagore, who is the Nobel laureate and a great poet and an educationist, he died a very regretful death. And he confessed that my mission has failed because of the weaknesses within and in the people around me. That is why this mission has failed, he said. I said to my students, you fail or not, I am not willing to fail. I have never failed in my life and don't want to fail in this also. We have to pass, we must pass because there is no other way. This is not even do or die, this is do and die. After you do only you are allowed to die, otherwise you are not even allowed to die. You have to achieve this realization. You can't afford to die before that. Because if you die without doing it, I don't know whether another opportunity will ever be given. Because gods will think, should we even spare another opportunity for such a person who, when was given so many things, did not do anything about it? Gods will think we are undeserving, let us give it to somebody more deserving. Let us not go there. So this is the best opportunity, as I said, best time, best place, best people, best situations where one can quickly grow spiritually. Let us all strive to become that. Let go of our individuality and egos. And the test of it is, you don't feel hurt. You don't feel angry. No negative emotions you should experience. The moment you experience a negative emotion in your heart, it is the clear proof of the presence of ego. Compassion is not a negative emotion. Compassion for somebody and you feel bad, you shed tears, that's not a negative emotion. Negative emotion, hurt, anger, frustration, and all those other things. They are clear signals, they are clear proofs that there is still some ego, maybe very little, but that is theirs nevertheless. And it is capable of growing back very fast. Any negative feeling that you experience is only because of ego in you, not the ego of the other person. And it gave me an example. If somebody throws a ball at the wall, if there is no wall, the ball will straight go past that space. If there is a wall, it will bounce back. So all these emotions are bouncing back. It means there is a wall of ego inside you. If there is no ego, you are hollow, it will simply pass through. Whatever they say or do, it doesn't matter to you because you are not affected by it. It's ego and ego alone which is the cause of all negativity we experience. Whatever it is, the whole human evolution is about letting go of this ego, this human ego, and develop the divine ego, that I am divine, that is a good ego, not this I am human. And that causes all the trouble, and that is the biggest obstacle in the mission actually to me. If that wasn't there, something else would have been here. In the sense, each one of us would have been Jivan Mukta. We would have a long list which I could have published on internet, list of Jivan Muktas from all the countries. But right now I'm just publishing list of volunteers. You could have done much more, that's what I mean to say.